Hi, my name is Keith Cooper of Northlight Images, and in this video I'm talking a bit about some of the difficulties of choosing papers to print your pictures on, your artwork, whatever you want. But I've recently been testing the Epson P5300. Now that's a big 17-inch printer. It happens to be the same inks and the same print head as the P700, P900, so it performs almost identically from a print quality point of view in that respect. These are some of the test prints I've produced in testing this. There are hundreds and hundreds of them. That's a profiling target, that's a black and white test target, and there are loads and loads of them, and there are loads of images as well. And I've got lots of videos looking at different aspects of printing using this particular printer. But there's some of the papers that I've done. When I've finished the written review for this printer, by the way, I will be making available all the profiles and things that I've produced for it. I think currently there are 27 of them. There may be a few more by the time I've finished. But the printer's now gone back to Epson, and I'm left with a huge great pile of paper here. And what conclusions have I come to about picking a paper? Because the difficulty of looking at, there are lots of papers, but when it comes down to it, there are actually only a few types of papers. So have I learnt anything new about picking papers for images? Well, I still say go for a few. If you're relatively new to printing, go for a few basic paper types. Go for something like this is there's a luster paper, there's a matte paper. There are a few. I've done some videos looking at basic paper types I suggest starting off with, and as ever, and I have to mention it, do always start out with printing a test image. Test images are produced for specific reasons. They enable you to see potential problems with your printer setup. They're also consistent. They don't have any of the potential editing errors that you've got in using your own images. So use a test image. I've got lots of these. I'll put links to them on the notes to the video, and you can download stuff for that and help yourself. They are an integral part of printer setup and testing for me. As I said, it's the same as the 900. Were there any papers that surprised me? Well, there were some very nice papers I got to test. This large print up here that just is precariously balanced on a stand is a large black and white print that was done on a Hahnemuhle Baryta style paper. That's got a very nice finish, worked excellently for black and white. The paper that surprised me the most, and it's always nice, I do so many of these tests, it's always nice to get something that I go, oh, I wasn't expecting that. Now, I've got some basic metallic papers I've tested, but I also tested the Hahnemuhle metallic rag. Now this, like many metallic papers, it has in the surface coating of it, it has very fine grind crystalline structure. It looks like tiny bits of mica in it, which gives a very distinct look. So distinct that lots of photos will look awful on it. But I found a few photos that I really liked it on. Now I'll come back to that and I'll do something a bit more on that when I've done some more of the write-up for this. But that was a paper which was different. Most papers are very similar. How do you decide between them? Well, there are only a limited number of paper makers out there. And if you get the chance, visit a trade show like the photography show here in the UK is coming up. There will be, all the main suppliers will have examples of images printed on their papers. If you can get swatch books, so books of sample photos on different papers, that is excellent. But always remember, those pictures will have been chosen specifically so that they look good on that paper. So try and ignore aspects of the picture that you're seeing and look at the paper. How much detail should you pay to the numbers though? I've generated vast amounts of numbers, comparative data on profiling and stuff like this. And most of that I look at out of interest, but not in any detail. If you see a discussion on a forum somewhere, people going on about one paper has a Dmax greater than another by some small proportion. Bear in mind that some people really feel the need to have numbers to back up any decisions they make. Now, I've, over the years, and it's 20 years I've been doing testing and stuff like this, I've learnt to try and balance. The numbers are helpful. The numbers help me spot things wrong. The numbers help me spot if something's not set up correctly. But 2 bits of paper here, and I pick these purely at random off the top, and I see one is printed on fine art, on velvet fine art Nepson paper, and another one on a photomat Baryta. This is Hahnemühle, one of the ones I tested. The Dmax numbers, and that's basically a number saying how black is the blackest black. The Dmax numbers on these are slightly different. Is it enough to make a difference? If I put one picture at one end of the room, well lit, and another picture at the other end of the room, well lit, walked up to one, had a look at it, walked back to the other one, could I tell you which was which? Probably not in most instances. Now, it turns out in this one, the velvet fine art paper, and I picked this at random, this was printed actually on the P5000 here, rather than the P5300. Very similar, but different printer. And I could spot that, because under this particular LED lighting, the one printed on the P5300, the blacks are much more neutral. So there is a slight difference there. Now that's stuff I can tell visually. Now if I go here for just looking at 2 papers, which I know from written on the bottom here are on the 5300, one's a satin finish paper, one's a matte. Well, guess what? I've got deeper blacks on the satin finish, but I expect that anyway. In terms of black quality, they're both ideal. Now, one area where the numbers do come in, and I put some of these graphs, I don't want to put too many graphs in the written reviews. There's a graph here. This is based on one of the rag type papers that I tested, and it shows a slight non-linearity. What does that mean? It means that the shadows are slightly crunched up on one compared to others. So that is somewhere where I would look at the numbers. I'd go, yeah, the shadows are slightly crunched up on this one. It's also, incidentally, one of the reasons why I don't usually suggest using the absolute highest 5760 highest print resolution settings on the P5300 or the 900 or the P700. It's slower, and the linearity is generally not so good. That means that, yes, you're using the higher settings. It may give you a Dmax number, a blackest black, slightly blacker than the lower settings. But of course, if it's not linear and the blacks are crunched up, you're losing the tonal range of your image, or losing parts of it potentially. And where I look at the numbers, as I said before, is to give me some comfort that there's nothing wrong. All of these papers are frankly quite similar. If you see marketing saying this is a really, really great paper, that's someone's opinion usually. I have got some stuff, and I will do some more about actually looking at the numbers to try and make a bit more sense of them. But in general, if you go for a good paper supplier, ideally one that provides ICC profiles, because I see that as a commitment to quality from that supplier. It needn't be their own paper. I know in the UK there are companies that if you buy paper off them, they'll make you a custom profile. If you go for papers like that, then for my mind, you can rest assured that they're going to work. If you get a bad print of one of those papers, then unfortunately it's almost certainly your fault because of the photography or your editing. When it comes down to it, the more testing like this I do, the more it lets me nail down the mechanics of printing. And once I've done that, what I'm seeing the differences are differences in my photography and my editing skills. Now that goes for me, goes for anybody. If you want a picture, you know, there's a picture here. This is done, feels like, yes, it's the same brighter finish as this one here. What most people see about this picture is the content. They see the car. It's the actual car that Kimi Räikkönen won the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa in 2004. I took this on a commercial job when I was doing some photography for an event, and what you see there, my choice of paper really is not that important. This looks good on this paper. It would look good on, you know, an ordinary luster type paper, satin paper. That one might even look good on a gloss paper. With the strong contrasts in this, it wouldn't look necessarily so good on a matte paper, but that's a personal choice. And the more I do this, the more I realize that paper choices are as much as anything about finding papers that complement your images, that complement your ideas behind the prints. I have got papers that look wrong. As I said, this one here, this is the metallic. I printed a few images on this and they look dreadful. Not because the images are dreadful, but the pictures, the images and the paper just don't go well together. Opposite was true as well. If I take an ordinary paper like this, now that's another. That looks like that's another one printed on this one here. Why have I got them mixed up in here? Because I've actually been trying to do a bit of comparison work between this printer and the 5300. There's not that much difference really when it comes down to it. But, oh yeah, there we go. There's one that was definitely printed when I was attempting to do borderless printing on the P5300. Yeah, that's all about the image. So, I can make no firm recommendations, I'm afraid, for this. Look at a few papers, go for some good quality papers. You don't need to get huge, great sheets like this, obviously. But look for profiles, do test images. But above all, remember that the picture, the paper there is a finishing touch. The paper should not be the key player in it. What you want is to produce images that just look good. Now, deciding what looks good, that comes through practice. That comes through taking more photos. Take more photos, edit photos, print them small if need be, just to get a feel for it. And you'll find that over time that all aspects, and I thoroughly recommend printing to people as a way of improving all aspects of your photography. It just works. Anyway, I've got to sort this lot out and find out what's in here. I mean, this is literally the pile of prints, and there's another pile elsewhere of prints. Just one little bit about the P5300 whilst I remember it. All of this printing was done, or the vast majority of it was done on the initial setup cartridges. And even then, the first one that needed replacing was the light grey, and the others didn't need replacing at all while I was doing the testing. And that is hundreds and hundreds of prints. Quite economical for its ink use, even if the printer itself is not cheap. So if you've got any questions, please do ask. It was somebody asking me about paper choices and were there any, how much notice did I pay to the numbers? How much did I actually just go, I like the look of that? The more I do the numbers, the more I go, yeah, that one I like the look of. Anyway, as they say, your mileage may vary, but please do ask questions if you've got any. Thanks for watching. Please do subscribe to the channel. It is appreciated, and bye.